Okay, welcome to Osteo Boston. I'm excited tonight to present a speaker that I am very excited about, and I'm sure you will be too. And so let me tell you a little bit about her. Carol Michaels, with many abbreviations after her name, is the founder of Recovery Fitness Exercise Program, and she's an award-winning exercise specialist, nationally recognized presenter and consultant. She's the author of Exercises for Cancer Survivors and the creator of continuing ed courses in partnership with the National Federation of Professional Trainers. Carol was the 2012 PFP Trainer of the Year and the 2016 IDEA Fitness Personal Trainer of the Year. She's published in many magazines, newsletters, blogs, and medical journals, and has produced exercise videos, which can be found on her website, carolmichaelsfitness.com. She also has social media links, Carol Michaels Fitness, and she has her own YouTube channel, Carol Michaels Fitness. And I want to thank Lisa for alerting me to her, who has told me about Carol. And also, I also like to say that tonight's recording will go up on our YouTube channel, and I'll be sending you the link for it. So anyway, we're excited to have you, Carol.
Thank you so much, Shelley. Thank you for hosting this group. Just seems so lovely. And Lisa, again, thank you for the introduction to Shelley. And thank you for everyone for taking out time from your busy evenings. I know that most of you are very sophisticated in your knowledge about osteoporosis, so I'm not going to go into my typical introduction, what it is, the causes, the risk factors. I'm really going to stick to exercise programming. I've been working in this field for over 25 years. I've had my programs at various facilities and hospitals. And now, due to COVID, I've pivoted almost 100% to doing everything online. So, before anyone would start any type of exercise program, as you really do need medical clearance. And this becomes even more important for those with osteoporosis. It's really great to get a full fitness assessment, so you really know, what your particular situation is. How's your posture? How's your balance? Do you have pre-existing conditions? Because I think really what confuses everybody with what the right exercise program is that you really need to fine tune it. Every program is not right for everybody. It has to be very individual. It's not a black and white type of thing. And I think that confuses a lot of people. People like to have their little categories and have a one size fits all type of program. But what is constant for everybody is that there are certain components that make up a good exercise program for someone with osteoporosis. Of course, you all know about the weight-bearing exercises. Basically anything that you're doing standing, be it walking, running, hiking, dancing, anything that you like to do is a good exercise, as long as it's considered somewhat safe. You want to try to get about 150 minutes in a minimum a week of moderate exercise. But what's interesting now is, besides your basic weight-bearing exercise, there's been a lot of emphasis lately, and I've been emphasizing this actually for a long time, in impact exercise. A lot of the programs and general systems were not really right for everybody. They did not include impact exercise. And there's been a big focus on the buzzword osteogenic loading, which is the amount of weight bearing that causes the bone to get denser. So that would imply that jumping type of exercises should be included, But then again, there goes the one size does not fit all. And we'll get into that a little bit later. Jumping is really great for some people, but would not really be a good idea for others. Another component that everyone should be doing at least 2 to 3 times a week is strength training, using a weight against gravity. And you should try to do this 2 to 3 times a week. And it's important to exercise every muscle group. So some people feel, well, I have low bone density in the hip. I'm only going to do exercises that focus in on the hip. But that would not be a great idea. That could actually just cause imbalances. You want to really get every major muscle group. And just because you're told you have low bone density in the hip, there's probably a good chance there are a lot of other areas, that have low bone density as well. The best exercises for strength training are exercises there that actually have muscle tugging on the bone. There's just so many strength training exercises, but some are significantly better than others. And, in my program, we go in a lot of these exercises you'll find in my videos on YouTube, where when you're actually doing some of the exercises, you'll feel the fatigue, or you really can almost feel that muscle tugging on the bone, which really stimulates the bone to get denser. Those are the more effective strength training exercises. You don't have to do them all at once. Let's say you have a busy day, you can do 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes later. We just do need to get every major muscle group. And the other area which I really concentrate on in my program is functional fitness. And that's just being able to use your body the way you do in everyday life. So, for example, there are people who say, well, I do exercise, I go to the gym, I sit in that machine, we do the leg extension, the legs go out and in. But, just trying to have, common sense and think about it. Do that type of movement in your everyday life? Does that really make sense for anyone except someone who really can't stand up, or someone who's, really wants to be muscular? We focus on exercises that will help you in your activities of daily living. So, for example, exercises, just some basic ones like a squat, because you need to be able to sit down, stand up, lunges to strengthen the legs, to work on balance, and they're very good for fall prevention. So, as part of strength training, let's delve into posture. Posture is a big problem, and especially, during COVID, we've just been probably sitting more, watching more TV, text messaging in a head forward position. And having poor posture is really a bad thing for many reasons. Just quickly, it could increase your risk of developing arthritis, nerve impingement. When you're sitting forward like that in that kyphosis position, your lung capacity is diminished. So sometimes people feel like, I'm really tired all the time. It's because they can't really take a deep breath because they're so hunched forward. So there are just so many reasons why we need to have good posture. Now, especially for someone who has low bone density, if one is sitting forward a good part of the day, and your bones are not dense, and as we get older, the cushiony discs in between each vertebra, sometimes we get some degeneration. We put ourselves in a position where actually the bone could touch upon the bone in that forward position, causing a compression fracture. So the importance of osteoporosis, posture exercise is really important and needs to be done on a regular basis. So what we need to do is strengthen our upper back muscles. When they get weak, we kind of lean forward. We also need to stretch the chest and the front of the shoulders, because if your pectoral muscles, if your front of the shoulder is tight, it's going to kind of pull you in and only make your posture worse. So posture must be included in a good program. And it's not enough just to do your posture exercises regularly. You have to be aware of your posture in your everyday activities. So, make sure, if you're sitting down for dinner, that you're sitting up straight right now. Check your posture. Are your ears over your shoulders? So you want to think about your posture throughout the day, not only, during your exercise sessions. So another component of strength training, another section of it, which is very, very important for people with osteoporosis, is doing balance exercises. Clearly, if you have low bone density, your goal is not to fall. The only way to help that is by having good balance. How do we have good balance? We, of course, deteriorates as we get older. Certain health issues cause bad balance, certain medications, but we do need to have a strong core and strong legs. Those are the two major parts of the body that can help improve balance. So we want to do a lot of core strengthening and leg strengthening. We, start by testing balance just by doing a basic one leg balance. Can you balance 10 seconds, 30 seconds? We incorporate lots of leg strengthening. Leg lifts are wonderful exercises. If you have bad balance, we always have people start off holding on to a chair or a solid piece of furniture. As they get stronger, perhaps they would just go to 2 fingers and then 1 finger. And, we also like to use wobble boards, balance trainers, because sometimes we're walking on ground that might just be softer and that could affect our balance. So, just being able to balance on one leg, or do that tree pose, does that really mean someone has good balance? Is that good enough for fall prevention? Unfortunately not, because if you think about why people fall, you never hear of anyone say, well, I was in tree pose and I broke my wrist or my hip, or I was standing on one leg. It's when we're moving, perhaps walking, and somebody might call you and you suddenly turn. Perhaps you might be walking your dog and you're on your phone, and your dog makes a sudden move, and that causes a lot of falls. So what we do is we've developed a lot of balance exercises that put us in those situations where maybe someone calls you, make a fast turn. Maybe your dog that you're walking, pushes you. Perhaps you're walking and there's a crack in the sidewalk. So we train the body to react to these situations, to decrease our chances of falling. So these exercises must be included in a program, because we do not want anybody.
I do all those.
um
Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry.
All righty. Anyway, so let's get into how do we know what exercises are safe and which exercises are not safe. So knowing how educated this group is, I think you've all probably know the Sanaki and Mickelson study. It was done a long time ago, and they found that 89% of the people who participated in the study that did forward flexion exercises suffered fractures. So forward flexion exercises or anything that you might do in your gym, your sit-ups, your crunches. And they found that people who did back extension exercises, when we move our body going the other way, they really had a very low percentage, maybe 16% of compression fractured. So it's really from that study that it was determined that doing those crunches and sit-ups and big forward folds and extreme twisting were considered contraindicated if you have osteoporosis. So, and that becomes a problem because a lot of people are told by their doctor, you have osteoporosis, go into some exercise class, do some strength training. And, you really do need, if you're in a group, go to the instructor and let them know that you have osteoporosis so they can make the modifications for you. It's really better if you know what to do and what not to do. And a lot of people really, when they find out that they shouldn't be doing extreme twisting or forward flexion, get really concerned because they think, well, how can I ever strengthen my core if I can't do my crunches and sit-ups? That's how I do my abdominal exercises. But there are hundreds of abdominal exercises that can be done with your head on the ground. Of course, you can always have a pillow under your head. And for example, all the Pilates, well, not all, good percentage of the Pilates exercises need to be modified because if you do Pilates now, you probably realize that a lot of times the head, shoulders, neck were in, pretty much of a big forward flexion type of move. You can do those exercises with your head on the ground. It really can be quite effective. So you can modify just about all of the Pilates exercises. You probably wouldn't anyway want to do the one, where you're lying down and the legs are flipped over. There's just too much pressure on your neck. I always look at everything in a risk reward type of way. And that would go for yoga also. In yoga, there are extreme twists. And, you can really just go halfway into the exercise. You can do, so many of them, but you make your modifications. So, best thing is, understand, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. And if you're in a large group class, make sure that the teacher is giving you modifications. Let's see. A lot of people also are always wondering about various sports. At a certain age, golf becomes a very popular sport. And, the question is, what do you do about it? Because when you do a full swing, there's a lot of movement, but it can be modified. The good thing about golf is that when you finish your swing, you're actually in extension, which is considered to be safe. If you do a really full swing, it's a good idea to work with your golf pro and just modify it so you're not doing any extreme twisting or forward flexion. So, the important thing is really using your body safely, doing your movements throughout the day with your hip hinge, which means that you hinge from your hip, your head to the tailbone should be very, very straight. You should lift your laundry basket like that. You should lift your suitcase like that. And the exercises that we do in my program are done with the hip hinge, where we actually are practicing lifting things, perhaps when we get back to doing our traveling, lifting our suitcase, placing it up on the rack safely, so we can be independent. So, in a nutshell, that really, really covers, what needs to be done in a program. Those are the basic components. And, I thought now I would just bring up a few topics that I'm asked about at least once a week in terms of what, if, what the general thoughts are on certain exercises. Are they really helpful? So one that I'm always asked about is, should I use a trampoline? I don't know if anyone here does rebounder or trampoline exercises, but one of the trampoline companies in particular has done a very aggressive marketing campaign promoting the trampoline for osteoporosis. That has to do with the jumping and the impact trend. Unfortunately, trampoline is not the safest. People fall off of a trampoline. If you do have a trampoline that has the handles, that eliminates that problem. But unfortunately, you're not getting the loading. The trampoline is just too soft to really get the impact. So if you're doing it, if you love the exercise and you're holding on to handles, if it's something you love, that's great. Is it particularly going to build bone density? Probably not enough impact. I also get asked at least once a week, we've discussed this in the past, about the program Osteo Strong. I don't know if any of you have participated in that. And through the years, I've known a number of people to go through that, and they did not get the results they were promised. I won't go into any more detail on that, but if you just think about it, 6 or 10 minutes of exercise, if it's too good to be true, it probably is not really going to be that helpful. Another very popular question is, should I do my walking with ankle weights on? Not a good idea. It's just, enjoy your walk. You shouldn't be bogged down with ankle weights. It actually could be harmful for the knees. Use ankle weights for your standing leg lifts, for other exercises. Ankle weights are definitely great, but not for walking or running. And that leads me to the whole weighted vest controversy. Again, I've worked with so many people. Some people in the past have used their vest. Unfortunately, I wish there was, easy answer. They did not really see results from it. And unfortunately, more people actually had hip and lower back issues due to wearing a 20-pound vest. And I always think, like, if having that extra weight truly was scientifically proven, wouldn't your MD experts tell you to just gain some weight? I mean, just like, why don't you just gain 20 pounds? It really is, again, risk reward. I think the risk to the lower back and the hip by wearing that extra poundage can cause more problems. And then finally, I'm always asked, should I use hand weights or the machines in the gym? Machines in the gym have their place. We are usually seated while you're doing a lot of the exercises. Again, we want weight bearing, so seated exercise, not that great. The machines are wonderful if you want to become muscle man, or if you can't stand, doing seated leg press is wonderful. But again, it goes back to functional fitness. Doing a leg press where you're seated and just pushing your both legs out and in wouldn't it be better to do something that's more practical to what you do in your everyday life, like a squat? So um, the negative about the machines also is you're just like sitting in again, when do you ever just sit in life and just go like this or whatever the machine is made for? Also, they're not always calibrated properly, and to set them properly on the right angles takes a lot of work. And most importantly, the machines don't always get the smaller stabilizer muscles that we need, just to help us with our balance and our coordination. So, I think I'll leave it there, and gives us some time. If anyone else here has questions, please, let me see if I can answer them for you.
One thing I want to just ask you is that some of the people wrote some questions, Carol, and this has been great. So thank you. I just want to go back to, someone said, let me see the first question. Can you see them on the chat there? I can read them if you'd like to.
I'm
Okay.
finishing eating. Thanks for having me.
No, not that one. Oh, it's Jerry on the iPad. Hi, Jerry. Okay, Carol, are there certain types, styles of home furniture, couches, etc., that are conducive to good posture?
Yes, there are. Yeah, I really feel that especially a work chair is really important to have one that's set up ergonomically properly for you. You have to have your hands at a certain distance from your computer. You have to have, your feet in a certain position. So, your chair and your positioning of your chair is very important. Off the top of my head, I really don't know the brands, but I can, actually do have them listed somewhere, so I can email that over to you. Any furniture that you're sitting in for a long period of time can affect your posture. Everything needs to be set up properly, and most importantly, if you're working full time or on a computer all day, set a clock for 20 or 30 minutes, get up, do some stretches, and then go back and do work. Don't sit there for 5 hours without getting up.
Let me see. There's twisting that's safe. How much twisting is extreme, from Steffi?
And that's where it gets really tricky. That's when you really need to work with, someone expert in osteoporosis to work with you to understand what your T-scores are, because that's going to be a different answer for someone who has a 2.5 T-score versus a 3.5. It's going to be a different answer for somebody who has previously had fractures, knowing your FRAX score. And then that also leads me to say that beyond, and I think a lot of you know this, beyond your DEXA scores, your bone density scores, there are other things to try to investigate to get a handle on the quality of your bones. So make sure you're working with an endocrinologist who's expert in osteoporosis and might be able to give you an indication of the quality of your bones. So that's going to affect the amount of twisting you can do, and that's where everyone gets so confused. There's so many answers to the questions are not clearly black and white. Everyone is so different. We start at a different fitness level, different ages, just different abilities. So everyone's unique. We have to really fine tune it for each person.
Makes sense. Tish from Ottawa said, what are some of the exercises you mentioned for balance that help train your body to turn quickly, like when you're walking your dog, for example?
Right. So, one thing that we do pretty often is, for example, standing on one leg and holding a weight and moving that weight in various directions. It could be side to side, back and forth, like so, on a diagonal, on one leg. We do a whole variety of various lunges done in different ways with different hand positions. So, those would be two examples of things, and without actually, going through a whole exercise routine. I know verbally it's a little tricky to actually explain that, but I think just for one exercise, which you can actually start to do today, is standing on one leg, holding something, and while you're on that leg, perhaps moving this side to side. It kind of gives you the feeling of perhaps that dog leash pushing you to the side. So that's just one example of something you can actually start doing tomorrow or tonight.
That's great. That's awesome. Tish, good question too. These are good questions. I think Karen, I think you got that answered. Is it possible to play golf? I guess that would depend on the person and their bone density scores and.
Right. And quite frankly, by the book, they don't love, people with osteoporosis playing golf. But I have to say, again, after being in this field for 25 years and just working with thousands and thousands of people, I have never come across anybody who did fracture from golf. Of course, I don't know what their swing was, their swing speed. Maybe they had already done some modifications, but if you love a sport, find ways to do it, modify.
Thank you.
Is that helpful, Karen?
Yes, that is. My concern was the swing, because I'm not an aggressive swinger. I just, I try to move with my whole body instead of moving the top half really fast, or I just try to do it all in one piece. So, I don't golf great, but I golf safe, I think.
And that's the important thing. And, if you're doing it and so far so good, keep doing what you're doing. And especially since you say you don't have an aggressive swing, which probably means that it's nothing that's like really, so high velocity that actually is going to cause a problem. So I have a feeling you're doing everything right.
Yeah, I feel like I'm trying to protect myself, but I wanted to ask because a couple of times they said, well, I'm still turning, so I don't know if this is, if I can do this or not, but it sounds like maybe I can continue.
Yeah, I mean, you've been doing it, and, I would just stay with what you're doing. It's working.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And then, thank you for that question. Steffi says, what about Tai Chi and Qigong?
Yeah, those are nice systems. I'm certified in medical Qigong. I think that they have their place in osteoporosis exercise. The problem now, with the emphasis on impact and with the emphasis on the Liftmore study that was done in 2000, it was like, I don't know, 3 years ago, but all of a sudden it's getting, a lot of buzz, and it's, just a lot of talk about it. For most people, it might be just a little too gentle. I mean, I love the meditative aspects of it. And actually, I'm glad you brought up this question, because I left out an important component, sort of exercise related, stress reduction. And those two exercise systems, I think, are great for stress reduction, because when we're stressed, we exude cortisol, and cortisol has a negative effect on our bone density. So for those reasons alone, Tai Chi, Qigong, those kind of meditative type of exercise systems would be good. More for stress reduction. And, the bone density, it's good you're standing, with the Qigong, there's a little bit of stomping. With the Tai Chi, the little bit of a weight shift. And I think for an old, very, very older population, it's fine. But I would like to see, my younger people with osteoporosis, and now, they're coming in their 30s and 40s. It's a horrible epidemic. People in their 60s and 70s should do other things, besides the Qigong and Tai Chi. Bottom line, good exercise systems. If you like it, keep up with it, but you must add the other components of exercise into your routine, and unless you have an issue, unless, you've fractured, you can't do certain things. Again, it's so individual.
And then Tish asked, what about the functional fitness? Could you just say a couple more things about that to clarify what that is?
Sure, yeah. So, functional fitness, again, like another buzzword, in the world of fitness has been kind of popular, I guess, for about a decade or so. And it's just trying to have us age more gracefully, being able to continue to do what we like to do by keeping those muscles strong. So, if you like a certain activity, if you're let's say a tennis player, or there's a certain sport you would like, or certain activity, or even something as simple as raking leaves or vacuuming, you want to keep the muscles involved in those activities strong. So functional fitness is just sort of almost like just sort of common sense. Do exercises, do strength training that keeps the muscles that you use for your daily activities or your sporting activities strong.
That's great. Can you tell us, or maybe you could send us later about was it the Richardson study? I think that was the name of
Sure. Yeah. The
it.
Sanaki study. Yeah. That's really key, because that's really how the information about the forward the flexion exercises being dangerous. And it really makes sense, because I wish I had my skeleton with me, but if you think of the spine, and when you bend forward, that part of the spine, that part of the vertebra is just generally very soft, that front part. And when you bend forward, just as I explained with bad posture, the bones start to touch each other. And if your bones are soft and they start crushing into each other, it could cause a fracture. So that's how people self fracture. If you have bad quality bones, bad bone density, and you sneeze violently, people have been known to cause a compression fracture with that forward lean, one of those big sneezes. So so it's the Sanaki and Mickelson study, so I can get that to you. I have a copy of that.
Great, thank you. And then Steffi asks, and I haven't heard this phrase, standing is the new smoking. Do you recommend a standing desk?
Sitting?
I think she means sitting.
Oh, okay. I'm like smoking. Wait a minute. Okay.
Sitting is the new smoking. It came from a New Yorker article of
Oh,
several years
sitting
ago.
is the new smoking.
Did I write standing? I apologize. But I made a standing desk out of just materials in the house. And I know people get fancy ones, but I just, threw it together. And do you recommend, I even created a standing sewing machine area. But are we allowed to sit ever?
Oh, of course. Yeah. So, right. Sitting is the new smoking, and basically that's just trying to say in our country, we are just so inactive. We're just, everyone's, I mean, I'm not saying anyone on this group is, but too many people, if they have to go down the block, they get in their car and drive down the block. A lot of people are very, very, very inactive, or just having to working 2 or 3 jobs just to make ends meet without time to even move. So, sitting is the new smoking. There's no weight bearing. It's hard, you're sitting all day. It's just hard. It's horrible for cardio health, for every system in the body. I think it's wonderful that you were able to be creative and make a standing desk. You don't need to spend a lot of money on a standing desk. You could just pile up a bunch of books or, some cartons and put your desk on and stand up. But don't do what one of my clients did. She actually bought a very expensive standing desk, and all of a sudden her back started hurting her. So I was surprised. So we spoke about it in great length. And then I realized, okay, you were standing, but she had 4-inch heels on. In her office. And I was like, well, that caused that problem. So yeah, you try not to sit all day. It's
Good.
it's just not good for any system of the body.
Great. Okay, and then do you recommend breaking up walking? So you maybe walk a couple of miles and then later on in the day walk more? Or do you think it's better to walk all at once?
Yeah, whenever. Yeah, so it's really whenever it works for you, whenever it fits into your day. You can do it,
Right.
10 minutes here, 20 minutes there. It's also not a bad idea, to, sometimes you can walk at a moderate pace and maybe pick up the pace a little bit. You can kind of do a little interval walking, but you just try to keep as active as possible. And that keeps changing. Like, I don't know if you saw the article, I don't know if it was the Times or the Journal. They just said, you don't really need to do those 10,000 steps. 7,000 is quite sufficient.
right.
So it just keeps changing all the time.
And would you say muscle tugging on the bone with something could be achieved, like that could be achieved with a band? That's from Jen Ross.
Yes. So that's one of the exercises we do on a regular basis. We lie on our side. We have one leg on top of the other. The knees are bent. Our thighs are perpendicular to the torso. And then there's a 90-degree angle from the thigh to the calf. We place a resistance band above the knees and just lift the leg up in one unit, maybe 8 inches off of the other leg. And that really, really hits those muscles in the hip area. So anything where you can really feel that tugging of the muscle on the bone is a good thing.
Okay.
So would that also be like if you were holding a band and, pulling out and holding and then coming forward like that also?
And that so much that's actually just a very good posture exercise, as long as someone feels like they're using their upper back muscles and not pushing out, with their elbow or their wrist. So, I do like an exercise like that for posture, but there's not quite enough, tugging on the bone, but that is a good exercise to do.
And then Tish, what are your thoughts on a weighted vest with less weight in it while you're exercising?
Would you repeat that one, Shelley, please?
Having a vest on, a weighted vest while you're exercising. What's your thoughts?
Right, and with a smaller amount of weight than the 20 pounds that I spoke about earlier. I feel like it's kind of like, why even, I try to enjoy your exercise. Why weigh yourself down, with any type of extra weight? Even if it's 5 or 10 pounds, again, with the people, and this is just anecdotally from the thousands of people, nobody has felt that their bone density increased by using a weighted a weighted vest and actually has just caused them, various aches and pains. And if you feel like you love wearing a weighted vest for whatever reason, and you're not getting any injuries from it, go ahead. But I mean, it's just so unnatural. And I feel like, people wear, they're wearing one when they're taking a walk. I feel like just enjoy the pleasure of being able to walk, enjoy the outdoors, you know,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah,
weighted vest.
I'm,
Just
about
seems
that.
absurd.
Okay, and then, let me see, I think we talked about the muscle tugging on bone one, but, uh,
Can you define, you mentioned working all the muscle groups. Is that hundreds of them? Are there 7? I mean, I don't know what you mean by that.
Good, very good question. Yeah, we have tons of muscles. So basically, you want to, when your exercise routine is over, you want to make sure to exercise every part of the body. So for example, you don't want to just do a bicep curl without doing the opposing muscle, the tricep. You wouldn't just want to do the front of the leg, the quadricep, without strengthening the back of the leg. So basically, I usually just talk about things in muscle. Those are like major muscle groups within, within each major muscle groups. There are little names for the specific muscles. So what we do a lot of exercises to hit the muscles from different angles. And for example, just talking about tricep, tri, 3. So there's 3 muscles that run through there, and different positionings hit the muscle from different positions. So you might do an exercise like this, you might do one like this. So throughout, you don't have to do them all in one day, but throughout the few weeks, you want to be able to do a variety of exercises. You don't want to just do the same 8 exercises in strength training, and that's it. First of all, that is so boring, and the reason people stop exercising is because it can get boring, and you don't want that ever to happen. And there's so many interesting exercises that can be done. So when we're talking about like doing some shoulder exercises, we just don't do a shoulder press. We'll do a front raise, a side raise, straight arms, lateral raise, doing one on a diagonal with the thumbs down. So through the weeks, we've hit the muscles from different angles, different positions, and an exercise program that just does the same exercise every day, week after week, is not sufficient.
how about, the breaststroke at the front crawl and swimming in general? How do you feel about those in terms of
Oh,
osteoporosis?
I'm so glad that somebody brought that up. That is great. So, what's interesting is, you read all the literature and all the research on osteoporosis, and you'll find swimming won't do anything, for the bones. It's not weight bearing. I've always thought it was a great exercise. It's great for cardio. If you have arthritis, it's a wonderful exercise. It's gentle on the joints. But this is the really interesting thing, that there's some research now that gives me the impression that it doesn't do anything for bone density, but it could help with the quality of the bones. So that's really not getting a lot of press for some reason. So if you love swimming, just keep doing it. But add on to it. Just don't swim. Add your balance. You're in the water. That's not helping your balance. You're not going to fall in the swimming pool, I hope. So add everything else, but stay with the swimming. It's good.
Sarah, can I just mention that I've read something that said that the breaststroker from crawl, like we roll our shoulders and arch our back. Is that a concern for us?
I mean, I definitely understand that, like, everyone has different techniques in how they, do the various strokes. Again, I've never had anybody have a problem, a fracture, or any issue due to their swimming. Perhaps if their technique is horrible, it could cause, some type of, rotator cuff issue or something. But no one, I've never actually read about anyone fracturing due to swimming. I'm going to research that, but I'm not aware of that.
Okay, 3 questions. Running, okay, jazzercise and Kalanetics.
So, yeah, I mean, running is fine. You get that loading. Again, that's, depending on, your FRAX score, the severity of bone loss. That's something you should just run by your endocrinologist. Generally speaking, though, running is going to be fine. Of course, make sure you have proper footwear. Make sure, the area you're running in, you're not going to trip over anything. Jazzercise, it depends who's teaching it. It depends if you're knowledgeable enough to not do the exercises that are contraindicated, or if your instructor will say, those of you with osteoporosis, you're going to do the exercises in the following way. So it's only safe depending on the instructor's knowledge or the participant's knowledge. And that goes for any exercise system. And was there something else?
Kalanetics.
And that goes for that too.
That too.
Yeah, the same thing.
Good question, just before you go further. I had heard from another speaker that we had that doing the crawl is contraindicated. I love to swim and I do the crawl, and I find myself, after her saying that, not wanting to do it. I mean, you're twisting a little. I'm not going crazy, but it feels like it's restricting my movement. What do you think?
I feel that, if you have good technique in your swimming strokes, that it swim away. It's a good exercise, for heart health, and especially as we get older, with arthritis. And if you like any type of movement, you should do it. I've never heard anybody fracture due to swimming. Again, is it bone building?
Right.
No, but that's okay. Add other things to your
I do.
routine. And as I just mentioned, maybe it's good for quality of the bone given some of the recent studies. So I've never heard of a problem with the crawl or breaststroke unless someone's technique is just
Great,
bizarre.
thank you.
And then, thank you. You guys are asking great questions. Rika said, please self-promote a minute, and so that we can find you where you're doing your online classes.
Okay, so I offer individual sessions and classes, and my classes are generally very small. I have my screen blown up. If I have 6 people on there, it's almost like personal training. I can see everyone very, very, very clearly. So I offer several classes, usually about 2 classes every day, and private sessions. The best way to contact me is through email, and I would be able to give you a schedule of classes. I don't place it on my website because they do change, and and I do like the personal contact of the email. I don't like to use those sign-in systems, because I need to see who is in the class so that I prepare the class properly for, everyone with their different issues. And, this one might have a bad hip, this one might have a knee replacement, this one might be a, great athlete, etc. So I have a website, Carol Michaels Fitness. That's the name of the website. My email is my name, Carol J. Michaels. You have to put that J in there, at gmail.com. And I have a pretty active YouTube channel, which, you might want to just take a quick glance. I think I have like 100 little things on there, and you might want to see what makes sense for you, and some videos that are listed on the homepage of my website, which are sold through Amazon. They're DVDs, and you can get them as downloads as well.
Thank you. This is quite helpful. Trina asks if you have a history of piriformis syndrome or sciatica, start any clamshell hip exercises very slowly and carefully. Oh, I guess that's not a question. She's just, are you commenting, Trina?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes,
Okay.
because it happened to me, so I'm just saying, be careful if you have.
Right. And that would go for any exercise, if you have any type of sciatica, any injury at all, any exercise has to, you go into it very slowly. You don't use any extra resistance. You don't use any extra weight, and you just ease into it slowly and just do a few repetitions. So, and that goes for, let's say you're on vacation for 2 weeks and you come back to exercise. You don't go full out your first session, just ease into it, maybe do a half session. If you're in a group class, if they're doing 15 repetitions, just maybe do half. So, you just have to listen to your body. You don't ever have to prove anything when you're exercising. If you feel slightest bit of discomfort, you stop immediately, speak to your therapist, your trainer, your instructor, whoever you're working with. Don't ever work through pain.
That's excellent. And also bicycling. What's your take on that, Carol?
Great cardio exercise, fun. I love to bicycle ride. There's the risk of falling, especially, if you're doing some really fast outdoor riding, you have the risk of falling. The negative about bike riding is you're seated, it's not weight bearing. And what's interesting is, with the popularity of Peloton, and all these other systems, people are doing quite a bit of Peloton and other bicycling, and a lot of people are getting, various hip and other overuse injuries. So bottom line, you really diversify your exercises, try to, not do the same thing day after day. Bicycle riding, great for cardio. If you have a bad knee, it's usually good if you have a bad meniscus or healing from a knee operation. But it's not weight bearing. That's the negative.
I got it. That's great. I think we got it. Final comment. I'd like to turn it over to Lisa to tell everybody about you for a minute. Lisa, did you want to share?
Two things, because you can look up Carol online and see her YouTubes and all the other wonderful things she's involved with. But I just want to share my personal experience on two subjects. One is her digital downloads, which are only available on Amazon. And I'm sure a lot of you are sitting here thinking, this is overwhelming. I don't know what to do. This physical therapist said that, and this trainer said that. And what should I do? And I went onto Amazon and I looked at the reviews of Carol has the digital downloads in DVD form too. I didn't want that. I wanted to be able to play them on any device. And I read the reviews and I thought, these people must be her relatives. I mean, and then I took a look at the actual, what she's done. And I wrote a couple of, I bought 3 of them that sound like I'm her relative too. But she has besides herself, she has 2 other people doing the exercises, and she's covering all those areas she mentioned: the balance, the strengthening, the flexibility, and then there's some stress reduction, and the way she does them. So she has somebody who's doing them in a way that an older person might want to do them. And she's so encouraging, you don't feel uncomfortable for a minute, and she's talking you through it. She has really nice music. And there you have your half an hour and you've covered everything. And so it's good discipline for me anyway. And I'm sure some of you are thinking, well, I just want to do 30 minutes or 35 minutes. Give me something. So you have these 3 things on Amazon. And the other thing I want to say, and I don't think anybody's ever said this to you, Carol, tell me if I'm wrong. I met Carol through NOF, National Osteoporosis Foundation. I asked if there was somebody who was doing online classes, and I emailed Carol, and she emailed right back, "Who is this?" But then the next day I was in her free Monday class. I voluntarily dropped out after all because she had so many people there. She was asking for people to give others a turn. But when she shows you an exercise in her online classes, she's looking up into the camera to see how you're doing. I mean, especially with a small class, but even those large classes I was in, 30 plus people, she would look up and the look on her face was like, with so much concern and compassion and helping everyone through. I don't know how you did it. And you felt like, you're like you had your, like a mother hen was looking out for you. So that personal touch she mentioned, that's really there. And she always was honest with me when I emailed her questions. She always got right back to me and was very honest. So I'm glad I was able to say
you're my sister, I think now. Anyway, that was very, very nice. It's just, this is, my thing, my mission, my passion. I just see, for decades, like just so much misinformation, the business of osteoporosis, everyone trying to sell, these like $1,000 programs and things that really aren't scientifically backed up and taking advantage of people's insecurities, all the poor, bad information that's out there. And as I mentioned right in the beginning, the bottom line is it's not one size fits all. And that's what stresses everyone out. And that's why it's so important to really read everything you can, and this goes with anything these days in the health field, and really, educate yourself and work and really, work with the right people, because everyone should not be doing the exact same thing. It's just impossible for that. It's not one size fits all.
Wow. What do you think? Was that wonderful? Thank you
Great,
so
great.
much.
Thank you.
It was really fabulous.
Shelley,
Yeah.
may I ask another question? And when it has to do with, they'd say, don't do crunches. So whenever I'm in a class, whether it was water aerobics or any kind of other exercise class, and others are doing crunches, I just try to keep my back as straight as possible and yet bring my leg up and my arm down type of thing. I just want to make sure I'm not
Right. So,
putting
I
myself.
I
danger.
would do when you're in a class and they're doing crunches, I would just do a reverse crunch, which means you just keep your head, neck, and back down, and you just bring your legs up. But what, I try to instill with the people I work with, a lot of times we think we're using our abdominals, but we're really using our legs. So we have to learn, how to engage the abdominals. Sometimes I'll put like a little tubing or something under the lower back, so we know we're pressing the navel to the spine. But anyway.
I'm talking about a standing crunch.
Oh,
So,
standing crunch. Yeah, I don't know how effective those really are, but you know what? As long as you can keep your head to tailbone pretty straight,
uh-huh.
it's fine.
Well, thank you, Carol. I really appreciate everything and
Thank you. Thank you. It's my pleasure. And if anyone has further questions that come to mind tonight or tomorrow, as Lisa said, I will respond to your emails. And just thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time out to participate in the program. And should I sign off? I guess I'll sign off. Is that okay?
okay, thank you.